Racketeering can encompass a wide variety of serious criminal offenses, including fraud, bribery, money laundering, trafficking, and sex trafficking, among others. One new allegation that has surfaced involves an instance of kidnapping during which Shawn Diddy Combs allegedly carried and displayed a firearm to a female victim. This part of the case has stirred significant controversy, adding a layer of complexity to the already high-profile case.
As you all know, I made a request today for what we were calling a gag order, and I'm not going to walk out of court and do anything other than
listen to everybody, but you believe all proof.
Believe the facts.
This video is proof.
Hands down.
The footage quickly caught the public's attention, sparking a flood of discussions online. However, as with many viral stories, the truth is a bit more complicated than what is presented in the headline. In a hearing that left the courtroom filled with tension, the once powerful figure in the music and entertainment industry, Diddy, appeared visibly shaken as he faced a barrage of fresh accusations. The man who had once commanded global stages and dominated red carpets now walked into a wood-paneled New York courtroom looking almost unrecognizable. Reports described him as bloated, with his prison-issued tan jumpsuit hanging loosely on his body. His face, framed by a scruffy grey beard, seemed weighed down by months of incarceration, legal battles, and intense public scrutiny. Gone was the polished, charismatic image of the Bad Boy Records mastermind. What stood before the court was a man who appeared to have been deeply affected by his situation. He looked as though the weight of the world was bearing down on him. But despite the unsettling appearance, Diddy remained steadfast. He addressed the court, stating, "I'm here today just to tell the truth. Hopefully, we can get to the bottom of this. The charges against me are 100% false, and in time, I hope that will be clear to everyone." The courtroom was packed, with family members, including his mother, Janice, and children, sitting in quiet support. Their expressions were a mix of concern and quiet resilience as they watched Diddy navigate the intense proceedings. As he entered the courtroom, he offered them a faint smile and blew a two-handed kiss, one of the few moments of warmth during a tense and high-stakes legal battle. But as quickly as the brief moment of warmth arrived, the seriousness of the situation took over. The hearing was meant to address the latest round of allegations against him, each one painting a troubling picture of a man allegedly using his wealth and influence in deeply troubling ways. Diddy, in an attempt to avoid jail, promised to give up his passport and agreed to house arrest, expressing a willingness to stay at home rather than face the prospect of jail. His lawyer proposed a range of restrictions, including regular illicit substance tests, nightly visitor logs, and strict limits on visitors, permitting only family members, such as his mother and daughters. Desperately trying to avoid a longer incarceration, Diddy was pulling out all the stops, attempting to convince the judge to allow him bail until trial. His defense team offered his Miami home and his mother's home as collateral, along with his promise to forfeit his passport. Despite the significant proposal, the judge remained unmoved and denied Diddy's request for release. The prosecution, on the other hand, presented a compelling argument, suggesting that Diddy was not a man they could trust to stay out of trouble. They dredged up his past, revealing a series of troubling texts that painted a picture of someone capable of manipulation under duress. One particular text from 2016, which seemed desperate, caught the attention of the court. It was sent by Diddy after he was caught on camera with his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, at a hotel. In the text, he wrote, "Call me. The cops are here. I've got 6 kids. Please call. I'm surrounded. Are you going to abandon me?" The message painted a portrait of a man under extreme pressure. But was it evidence of manipulation? However, the viral video's title, claiming Diddy had collapsed in court due to the possibility of a life sentence, was misleading. There was no collapse, and no life sentence was issued. Instead, the courtroom drama played out with a series of legal maneuvers, mounting accusations, and high-stakes discussions. Behind the exaggerated visuals, the situation was far more complex. As the trial looms closer, many questions remain. Is Diddy lying under oath? What evidence does the judge have against him? How deep do these allegations go? Can his legal team hold up under the mounting pressure? The drama intensified as Shawn Diddy Combs was hit with 2 new federal charges related to sex trafficking and racketeering, adding to an already alarming list of accusations. With the trial scheduled to begin in just weeks, the legal teams and public alike are bracing for the next steps.
This is not, in fairness, this is not a paper from my doctoral thesis where I want to make sure everything is as specific as possible. Why does it matter? Why do they have to add female victim? If aren't they going to argue that anyway at trial? I don't understand why they had to be so precise there.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a female or a male. We're talking about RICO predicate acts, right? So
this marked a disturbing addition to an already horrifying list of allegations. The indictment's language was precise in its detail, referring to instances of violence and coercion, including the use of firearms. Yet some observers questioned the need to specify that the victims were female. Was this a necessary distinction, or was it a tactical move to strengthen the case? The debate over whether gender matters in the context of the allegations remains unresolved. As the case continues to unfold, it's clear that Diddy is facing one of the most severe legal battles of his life. The federal charges against him include allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, and systematic abuse of women. If convicted, he could be facing decades in prison, possibly even a life sentence. The courtroom was filled with the tension of what is to come, and the charges laid against Diddy paint a picture of a man who used his considerable power and influence for nefarious purposes. This ongoing case, with each new development and revelation, underscores the stakes involved. For Shawn Diddy Combs, the potential consequences of these charges are devastating. If convicted on the full range of charges, Diddy could find himself facing the rest of his life in prison. With so much riding on the outcome, every courtroom, exchange and piece of evidence will be critical. The prosecution continues to build its case, revealing more about the scope of the alleged crimes. They claim that Diddy used his power to lure women into sexual situations under the pretense of romantic relationships, only to coerce them into engaging in sex acts with others. The details are harrowing, with claims of physical abuse, drug use, and the exploitation of victims. Diddy's alleged actions extend beyond mere manipulation, suggesting a pattern of abuse and control that lasted for years. Federal prosecutors are using the racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations RICO Act as part of their strategy. This law was originally designed to dismantle organized crime groups, but it has been used in various high-profile cases, including the prosecution of individuals accused of systemic criminal activity. RICO allows prosecutors to group together multiple charges under a single conspiracy, which means that if Diddy is found guilty of participating in or directing a criminal enterprise, he could be held accountable for every crime committed by the people involved. The application of the RICO Act adds another layer of gravity to the charges against Diddy. If the jury finds that he directed or was involved in a criminal enterprise that spanned multiple illegal activities, the stakes for him could be astronomical. With the potential for life imprisonment hanging over him, the legal pressure is mounting. Diddy's legal team has responded forcefully, claiming that the allegations are either exaggerated or false. They maintain that the relationships described in the indictment were consensual, and they reject the claims of coercion and trafficking. According to his defense team, these charges are based on misunderstandings and misinterpretations, with some of the accusations coming from former partners. As the trial date approaches, the tension continues to build. The world is watching as the case unfolds, and with it, the future of one of music's most influential figures hangs in the balance. Whether Diddy can clear his name remains to be seen, but with each passing day, the pressure grows. The courtroom. Drama is far from over, and with the trial set to begin soon, many questions remain. What will the defense team's strategy be? Will the prosecution be able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? And most importantly, how will this case affect the legacy of Shawn Diddy Combs